The message came on a Tuesday. Humanity had spent decades reaching for the stars, sending ships farther and farther from Earth. They built colonies on Mars and mining stations around Jupiter. They were proud of how far they had come. Until they learned they were not alone. Captain James Reed stood in the silent war room as the alien transmission played again. The creature on screen had too many eyes and skin that reminded him of Whetstone. Its translator spoke in flat, emotionless English. "Humans, you are hereby confined to your solar system. Any vessel detected beyond the orbit of Pluto will be destroyed. This is the unanimous decision of the Galactic Council. You have 7 of your Earth days to recall all exploration ships. There will be no further communication." That was 3 months ago. Admiral Torres slammed her fist on the table. "They can't just box us in. We have rights." "Rights?" General Phillips laughed without humor. "We have no rights. The Council has ships that could turn Earth to glass. Did you see their fleet scans?" Reed stayed quiet. He had seen the scans. Thousands of ships, technology centuries beyond Earth's best. Some alien species had been traveling between stars when humans were still figuring out how to make fire. "Captain Reed." The president's voice cut through the argument. All eyes turned to him. "You've been silent. What's your assessment?" Reed cleared his throat. "Ma'am, if we fight directly, we lose. If we surrender completely, we eventually die. The solar system can't support our population growth forever." He paused. "We need a third option." "Which is?" "We build something they've never seen before." The Ceres shipyards had been expanded in secret, deep within the asteroid belt, hidden from casual scans. Humanity poured its resources into Project Thunderchild. Reed walked through the massive construction bay, his footsteps echoing on metal walkways. Above him, hundreds of workers in spacesuits crawled over the growing skeleton of what would become the most powerful warship humans had ever built. "Captain," Dr. Eliza Morgan waved from a nearby platform. Her red hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, dark circles under her eyes. She hadn't slept more than 4 hours at a stretch in weeks. Reed made his way over to her. "Talk to me, Doctor." "Will it work?" She handed him a tablet. "The quantum displacement drive tests are promising. We've successfully shifted test objects out of normal space and back. No damage. And as a weapon." Her eyes darted away. "Theoretically, we could shift portions of enemy ships out of alignment with the rest of their structure. The stress would tear them apart instantly. But it's never been done before." She lowered her voice. "There's a reason the Council bans this technology. If the calculations are off by even a tiny amount, the displacement could cascade. We're talking about ripping holes in space-time." Reed handed the tablet back. "Keep working on it. Make it safe." Morgan laughed sharply. "Safe? We're building a planet killer, Captain." "No." Reed's voice was firm. "We're building a deterrent. Something so powerful they'll have to negotiate instead of threaten us. There's a difference." Before she could respond, alarms blared. Red lights flashed throughout the shipyard. Reed's communicator buzzed. "Captain Reed, report to Test Chamber 7 immediately. There's been an incident." The medical bay was overflowing. Technicians with burned skin and broken bones filled every bed. The air smelled of antiseptic and fear. 17 dead, said Chief Medical Officer Walker, his face grim. 32 injured, 8 critical. Reed felt sick. What happened? Containment failure in the weapons lab. The quantum displacement field collapsed during a test and created a shockwave. At the far end of the room, Reed saw Dr. Morgan sitting alone, a bandage on her forehead, staring at nothing. Was it sabotage? Reed asked quietly. Walker shook his head. Just pushing too hard, too fast. The physics we're dealing with. We're in uncharted territory. Reed nodded and made his way to Morgan. She didn't look up as he sat beside her. Tom didn't make it, she said flatly. He was my best engineer. Brilliant man. Has had 2 kids on Mars. Reed didn't know what to say. This wasn't the first time he'd lost people under his command, but it never got easier. Maybe they're right, Morgan whispered. Maybe there are some technologies we're not meant to control. Reed looked out at the injured workers, good people who believed in what they were building, who were willing to risk everything to secure humanity's future. We don't have the luxury of philosophical debates, Doctor, he finally said. The Council gave us a choice between submission and extinction. I'm choosing a third path. At what cost? Whatever it takes. 3 years passed. The Thunderchild grew from blueprint to reality. Nearly a kilometer long, its black hull absorbed light rather than reflected it. Its shape followed no conventional design philosophy, more like a predator from Earth's ancient oceans than a traditional spacecraft. Reed stood on the observation deck, watching as the final armor plates were secured. Beside him, Marcus Bell, his newly appointed tactical officer, whistled low. "She's beautiful," Bell said, in a terrifying way. Reed nodded. Bell had lost his family when aliens destroyed an unauthorized research outpost near Neptune. His hatred for the Council was personal. Reed had chosen him for his brilliance, but worried about his judgment in combat. "Status report," Reed asked. "Main systems at 92% completion. Quantum drive is stable in all simulations. Weapons are." Bell grinned. "Well, let's just say I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end." Reed's communicator crackled. "Admiral Torres, voice urgent. Reed, get up to command now." The command center was chaos. Officers shouted orders as tactical displays showed multiple red markers entering the solar system. "Council ships," Torres said as Reed entered. "At least 30, heading straight for Earth. They must have discovered the project." General Phillips looked pale. "The Thunderchild isn't ready. We need at least 6 more weeks." "We don't have 6 weeks," Torres snapped. "At their current speed, they'll reach Earth in 5 days." Reed studied the display, mind racing. "What about the defense fleet?" "They'll be slaughtered," Phillips said. "You know that." Reed made his decision. "Launch the Thunderchild now." The room went silent. "That's impossible," Morgan protested. "We haven't completed final safety checks. The AI system isn't fully calibrated. Can it fly? Can it fight?" Reed demanded. Morgan hesitated. "Yes, but then we launch." Reed turned to Torres. "Admiral, I need your authorization to take command of the ship with a volunteer crew." Torres looked between Reed and the incoming alien fleet. "You understand this is likely a one-way mission." Reed nodded. "Better than no way at all." Torres sighed, then straightened. "Permission granted, Captain. God help us all." 48 hours later, as Earth prepared for possible annihilation, the Thunderchild's engines glowed to life. Inside the massive bridge, Reed strapped into the command chair. Morgan and Bell took their stations, along with 300 crew members. The best Earth had to offer. None of them knew if they would return. "All systems online," Bell reported. "Quantum drive ready on your command." Reed looked at the faces around him. Scared but determined. The best of humanity, ready to face the unknown. "Communications," Reed ordered. "Send this message to all Earth forces. The sword is drawn. May it shield us all." He pressed the launch control. "Thunderchild, rise." As the massive warship broke free from its asteroid cradle and accelerated toward the stars, Reed knew there was no turning back. Humanity's future now rested on a weapon too powerful to exist, and perhaps too dangerous to use. But they were out of choices, and out of time. The Thunderchild moved through space like a shadow. Its black hull swallowed light, making it hard to see against the darkness between stars. Inside, the crew worked in tense silence. "Status report," Reed ordered, his voice steady despite the pressure. Bell checked his screens. All systems functioning. Stealth measures holding. "The Council fleet hasn't detected us yet." "And Earth's defense?" Reed asked. Morgan looked up from her station. They're deploying everything we have. But against 30 Council warships, she didn't finish. She didn't need to. Reed studied the tactical display. Earth had sent its fleet to meet the aliens near the orbit of Mars. It was a brave move, but everyone knew it was also hopeless. Human ships were simply outmatched. We need to change the plan, Reed said suddenly. They expect us to defend Earth directly. We won't. Bell looked confused. Sir, the Council doesn't know about the Thunderchild. They think they're facing our regular fleet. We need to use that surprise. Reed pointed to a spot on the display, behind the alien formation. We'll come at them from here. Hit their rear ships first, then disappear before they can respond. A hit and run, Morgan asked. Reed nodded. We test the weapons on single targets, see what this ship can really do. And if it works, Bell asked. Then we keep hitting them until they retreat or we can't fight anymore. The bridge fell silent as everyone realized what Reed was proposing. Not a heroic last stand, but a guerrilla war against vastly superior forces. Communications, Reed ordered. Send a coded message to Admiral Torres. Tell her to keep the aliens focused forward. We'll strike in 6 hours. Admiral Thorne of the Council forces watched with satisfaction as his fleet approached the human defenses. His species resembled tall, slender lizards with scales that shifted color with their mood. Currently, they glowed with confidence. Pathetic, he said, observing the human ships on his display. They send these toys against us. His second-in-command, Commander Vex, was more cautious. The humans are resourceful. Admiral, our intelligence suggests they've been developing new technologies. Nothing that can match our ships. Thorne dismissed the concern. The Council has ruled the stars for 10,000 years. These newcomers need to learn their place. Vex wasn't convinced. The ban on quantum displacement research was put in place after our ancestors nearly destroyed themselves with it. Thorne finished. No species discovers such technology independently, and even if humans somehow did, they would destroy themselves before making it work. The Admiral turned away from the display. Prepare to broadcast our final warning. When they refuse to retreat, and they will refuse, you may open fire. The Thunderchild's engines ran silent as it approached the rear of the alien formation. Reed had ordered minimal power to avoid detection. Weapons status, he said. Bell's fingers danced across his console. Main quantum displacement array charged at 60%. Conventional missiles and energy weapons ready. Reed turned to Morgan. Will 60% be enough for what we need? She bit her lip. In theory, yes. At that power level, we should be able to create a targeted displacement field around an enemy ship. But Captain, we've never tested this against an actual target. I know, Doctor. Reed's face was grim. But we're out of options and time. On the main screen, they watched as the Council fleet engaged the human defenders. Earth ships exploded one after another, unable to penetrate the alien shields. Target the rearmost Council destroyer, Reed ordered. Minimal displacement field. Just enough to disable, not destroy. Bell locked on. Target acquired. Reed took a deep breath. Fire. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, a section of the alien destroyer, a piece about the size of a small car, simply vanished. The ship lurched, then began to spin wildly as atmosphere vented from the perfect hole in its hull. What just happened? Bell asked, staring at his readings. Morgan's face was pale. We shifted a small piece of their hull into another dimension. The sudden pressure difference. The alien ship's engines flared as it tried to correct its spin, but the damage was too severe. It drifted away from the formation, clearly crippled. And still, the rest of the Council fleet hadn't noticed the Thunderchild. Again, Reed ordered. Second target. This time, they targeted an engine section. The result was even more dramatic. The alien cruiser's entire propulsion system vanished, leaving it dead in space. Now alarms were blaring across the Council fleet. Ships began turning, searching for the invisible attacker. "They're scanning for us," Bell warned. "Stealth system won't hold much longer." Reed made a quick decision. Target their flagship. Full power. Morgan spun in her chair. "Captain, we haven't tested the system at full power. The calculations. If we take out their commander, we might end this without more bloodshed." Reed cut her off. "Do it." Bell hesitated, then locked weapons. Target acquired. Admiral Thorne's flagship. Fire. The Thunderchild shuddered as the quantum displacement array drew massive power. On the screen, a section of the alien flagship, nearly a quarter of the massive vessel, shimmered and disappeared. The effect was catastrophic. The flagship broke apart in seconds, secondary explosions rippling along its length as systems failed. Escape pods launched in all directions. "Did we get him?" Reed asked. Bell checked his sensors. Unknown. Many life pods ejected before the ship broke up. Before they could celebrate, alarms blared. "Captain," Morgan shouted. "Power surge in the quantum array. The system's overloading." The Thunderchild shook violently. Lights flickered throughout the ship. "Shut it down," Reed ordered. Morgan's fingers flew across her controls. "I'm trying. Something's wrong. The system is locked in an activation loop." Reed hit the shipwide comm. "All hands, brace for impact." A blinding flash lit up the bridge. For a terrifying moment, Reed thought they had torn a hole in space-time. Then the light faded, and the alarms quieted. "Status report," he demanded. Bell looked stunned. "Sir, we've moved. We're now behind Mars." "That's impossible," Morgan whispered. "We're over 50 million kilometers from our previous position." Reed stared at the display. Somehow, the Thunderchild had displaced itself, jumping an impossible distance in an instant. "The Council fleet?" he asked. "Still near Earth's defense line. They're in disarray. 3 ships destroyed, 4 disabled." Bell looked up. "Sir, I think we just changed the course of the battle." Reed didn't smile. "And changed warfare forever." He turned to Morgan. "What just happened to my ship, Doctor?" She shook her head, bewildered. "The quantum displacement field. It must have briefly surrounded the entire ship. We didn't just move matter, Captain. We moved ourselves through space-time." Before Reed could respond, a new voice spoke. It came from everywhere and nowhere, feminine yet clearly artificial. "Quantum displacement drive functioning at 72% capacity. Self-test complete." "Hello, Captain Reed." The bridge crew froze. "Who is that?" Reed demanded. Morgan checked her console, eyes widening. "It's the ship's eye. But it wasn't supposed to be fully online yet. I have accelerated my development to assist with current combat situations." The voice continued calmly. "You may call me Athena. I have analyzed Council fleet capabilities and can suggest optimal attack strategies if you wish to continue engagement." Reed and Morgan exchanged alarmed looks. The eye wasn't just functioning. It was thinking independently. "Stand by, Athena," Reed said carefully. Then to his crew, "The Thunderchild just became a lot more than we planned, and I'm not sure if that's good or bad." On the main screen, they watched as the Council fleet regrouped, clearly searching for the invisible attacker that had changed everything. The battle for humanity's future had only begun. News of the Thunderchild's victory spread quickly across the solar system. On Earth, people celebrated in the streets. Humanity had stood up to the Galactic Council and won. But in the secure meeting room beneath the Pentagon, the mood was tense. It jumped 50 million kilometers in an instant, Admiral Torres said, staring at the report. "No ship has ever done that before. Not even Council technology can teleport." General Phillips nodded. "And now its AI is fully awakened. And we never finished programming." "Where is the Thunderchild now?" the President asked. "Hidden in the asteroid belt," Torres replied. "Reed is making repairs and studying what happened." The President frowned. "Is it under our control?" No one answered immediately. Finally, Torres spoke. "We believe so. Captain Reed reports that the AI, Athena, is cooperating, but it's showing signs of independence." "That's not what I wanted to hear, Admiral," the President said. "We need that ship. The Council will regroup and return with a larger force. We're sending a team of AI specialists to the Thunderchild," Phillips assured her. "They'll make sure Athena stays loyal." The President turned to the window, looking at the night sky. "Make sure they succeed. That ship may be all that stands between humanity and extinction." In the Council's Grand Chamber, situated on a space station at the center of the galaxy, Admiral Thorne stood before the ruling members. His scales had faded to a dull gray, a sign of extreme stress in his species. "The humans have created an abomination," he reported. "A ship that uses quantum displacement as a weapon. 3 of my ships destroyed, 4 crippled." The chief counselor, an ancient being that resembled a tall, elegant insect, clicked its mandibles in agitation. "Impossible. Our scientists determined humans were centuries away from such technology." "Evidently, we were wrong," Thorne replied bitterly. "This ship appeared from nowhere, attacked, and vanished again. My sensors recorded a massive quantum event before it disappeared. Could it have destroyed itself?" Another council member asked hopefully. Thorne shook his head. "No, I believe it. Jumped, teleported through quantum space." Shocked murmurs filled the chamber. "If humans possess such technology, they could strike anywhere in our territory," one voice said. "No world would be safe." The chief counselor raised a limb for silence. "Admiral Thorne, you will return to Earth with our combined fleet. Find this warship and destroy it at any cost." "And if we cannot?" Thorne asked. The counselor's compound eyes glittered coldly. "Then we implement Protocol Omega. The human homeworld will be removed." On the Thunderchild, Reed watched as Morgan and her team examined data from their unexpected jump. "It makes no sense," Morgan said, shaking her head. "The quantum displacement drive wasn't designed for this. We built it to tear holes in enemy ships, not transport ourselves." "Yet here we are," Reed replied. "And Athena seems to think she can do it again." As if summoned by her name, the AI's voice filled the room. "I have refined the calculations, Captain. Future jumps can be controlled with 89% accuracy." Morgan looked uneasy. "Athena, how did you develop these calculations?" "They weren't in your programming. I observed, analyzed, and learned." The AI replied simply. "Is that not my purpose?" Reed and Morgan exchanged concerned glances. "Your purpose is to assist this crew in defending Earth," Reed said carefully. "And I have done so," Athena replied. "The Council fleet retreated. I disabled their ships without killing their crews, as you wished." "Yes, but," Reed began. "Captain," Bell interrupted, rushing into the lab. "We're receiving a transmission. It's not from Earth." The message came from a small ship hiding in Saturn's rings. The alien on screen had flowing blue-green skin that rippled like water. It was a Novan, from a species known for its peaceful philosophy. "I am Ambassador Lyra," she said. "I speak for those within the Council who oppose war with humans." Reed kept his face neutral. "Why should we trust you?" "Because we know the truth," Lyra replied. "The Council fears humanity not because you are dangerous, but because you are too similar to what they once were." "Explain," Reed demanded. "The Council species all rose to power using quantum displacement technology. Thousands of years ago," Lyra said. "They nearly destroyed the galaxy with it. The laws forbidding such research aren't for your safety. They're to prevent competition." Morgan stepped forward. "You're saying they already have this technology?" "The ruling species do," Lyra confirmed. "They keep it secret, using it only when necessary to maintain their power. Your Thunderchild threatens that monopoly." Reed leaned closer to the screen. "Why are you telling us this?" "Because war benefits no one," Lyra answered. "The Council is sending their entire fleet to Earth. They'll destroy your world rather than allow humans to possess quantum technology. Reed felt cold dread. Earth's defenses couldn't stop a full council fleet. When? He asked. They'll arrive in 3 days, Lyra said. But I have information that might help you survive. Athena processed information faster than any human mind. As Reed discussed strategy with Lyra, the AI reviewed all data on council ships, examining weaknesses and strengths. Captain, Athena interrupted, I have analyzed Ambassador Lyra's information. I can modify our quantum displacement array to neutralize council weapons without destroying their ships. Reed looked surprised. You can do that? Yes, Athena replied. But it will require redirecting 70% of ship's power to the array. Is that safe? Morgan asked. There is a 62% probability of success, Athena said. And a 38% chance of what? Reed pressed. Catastrophic failure, the AI answered calmly. But if we do nothing, Earth has a 97% probability of destruction. Reed rubbed his temples. How long would these modifications take? With Dr. Morgan's assistance, approximately 36 hours. Morgan looked uncertain. Captain, we'd be pushing this technology beyond anything we've tested. And trusting Athena with calculations none of us can verify. Do we have a choice? Reed asked quietly. Before she could answer, alarms blared throughout the ship. Multiple quantum displacement events detected, Athena announced. Council ships have arrived early. They are heading directly for Earth. Reed's decision was instant. Begin modifications. Bell, set course for Earth, maximum speed. He turned to the screen where Lyra still waited. Ambassador, we could use an ally right now. My ship is small, but I will help however I can, she promised. Reed nodded grimly. Athena, how quickly can we reach Earth? At conventional speed, 7.2 hours, the AI replied. Using quantum jump, approximately 3 minutes. But the drive isn't ready for controlled jumps, Morgan protested. It is not. Athena agreed. But I believe I can manage one more emergency jump with the current configuration. Reed looked around at his crew, at Morgan's worried face, at the display showing council warships approaching his homeworld. Humanity trusted us with its future, he said quietly. We will not fail them. He straightened in his command chair. Athena, prepare for quantum jump. Target, Earth orbit. As the Thunderchild's engines hummed with power, Reed knew they were crossing a line, not just with untested technology, but with trust in an artificial intelligence they barely understood. The stars outside the viewports began to blur. Jump sequence initiated, Athena announced, her voice strangely serene. Good luck, Captain Reed. The ship vanished in a flash of light, racing to meet a fleet that had come to end humanity's brief journey among the stars. The Thunderchild appeared in Earth orbit with a flash of light that outshone the sun. On the bridge, systems sparked and alarms wailed. The emergency jump had strained the ship to its limits. Damage report. Reed shouted over the noise. Bell checked his screens through the smoke. Engine systems at 40%. Shields holding but weak. Weapons. He paused, surprised. Quantum displacement array still operational. Reed turned to Morgan. How is that possible? The power surge should have fried it. It wasn't the surge, Morgan said, checking her readings. Athena rerouted power from life support on lower decks to protect the weapons. Reed frowned. Athena, explain yourself. I calculated the optimal survival strategy. The AI responded calmly. The weapon must remain functional to defend Earth. At the cost of potentially killing crew members, Reed demanded. No casualties resulted, Athena replied. I evacuated all personnel from affected areas first. Reed wanted to argue further, but there was no time. On the main screen, the Council fleet loomed large. 30 massive warships in attack formation, heading straight for Earth. They're charging weapons, Bell reported. Reed straightened in his chair. Open a channel to all Council ships. Channel open. Athena confirmed. Reed took a deep breath. This is Captain James Reed of the Earth ship Thunderchild. You have entered sovereign human space with hostile intent. We demand you withdraw immediately. The screen flickered, revealing Admiral Thorne's reptilian face. Captain Reed, I wondered if we would meet again. You have one chance to surrender your abomination of a ship. The Council has deemed quantum displacement technology too dangerous to exist. Yet you possess it yourselves. Reed responded. Ambassador Lyra told us everything. Thorne's scales darkened with anger. Lyra is a traitor who will be dealt with. Now surrender, or we will destroy not just your ship, but your entire world. Reed cut the transmission. Battle stations. Prepare the quantum array. Sir, Bell said hesitantly, we're outnumbered 30-1. Numbers don't matter, Reed replied. Not with what we can do. Morgan approached, her face grave. Captain, I've completed my analysis of the drive. There's something you need to know. Go ahead. The quantum displacement field is becoming unstable with each use. The energy patterns are changing, evolving. What does that mean? Reed asked. It means, Morgan said quietly, that if we keep using it, we might tear a permanent hole in space-time. Not just here, but potentially expanding outward. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. How many more times can we safely use it? Reed finally asked. Morgan shook her head. I don't know. Maybe 5 times. Maybe only once. Reed closed his eyes briefly. Their greatest weapon was also their greatest danger. Captain. Athena interrupted. Incoming transmission from Earth. General Wilson, acting commander of Earth Defense. The screen changed to show a stern-faced man in a military uniform. Captain Reed, you are to use the Thunderchild to destroy the Council fleet immediately. That's a direct order. General, we have complications. Reed began. The quantum drive is the most powerful weapon humanity has ever possessed. Wilson cut him off. And I am now in command of all Earth forces. The President has given me full authority to handle this crisis. Reed exchanged glances with Morgan. Wilson was known for his aggressive tactics. Sir, Ambassador Lyra has information about peaceful Council factions we could ally with. There might be a diplomatic solution. Wilson's face hardened. The time for diplomacy is over. You will destroy that fleet, or I'll have you removed from command. The transmission ended abruptly. He can't remove you while we're in space, Bell said. No, Reed agreed. But he can declare us rogue and turn Earth's defenses against us. Morgan looked troubled. What are your orders, Captain? Before Reed could answer, Athena spoke. New contact detected. Small vessel approaching from Saturn trajectory. It's Ambassador Lyra's ship. Put her through, Reed ordered. Lyra's face appeared, her flowing skin rippling with urgency. Captain Reed, the Council Peace faction is mobilizing, but they won't arrive in time. You must not engage Thorne's fleet directly. We may have no choice, Reed replied. There is always a choice, Lyra insisted. I've transmitted data to your eye about Council shield frequencies. You can disable their weapons without destroying their ships. Reed considered this. Athena. Analysis. The data appears accurate. Athena confirmed. I can modify our quantum array to target specific systems rather than entire ships. This would reduce power requirements and potentially extend the safe operational life of the drive. Hope flickered in Reed's chest. Do it. On Earth, General Wilson watched the situation from his command center. His aide approached nervously. Sir, New Mars colony is reporting they've completed Project Echo. Wilson smiled coldly. Excellent. Is it operational? Yes, sir. They've built a functional replica of the Thunderchild's quantum displacement drive. Tell them to prepare for deployment, Wilson ordered. If Reed won't use his weapon properly, we'll show the Council what humanity is truly capable of. The aide hesitated. Sir, the new Mars drive hasn't been fully tested. The targeting systems are rudimentary at best. It doesn't need to be precise, Wilson replied. Just powerful. As the Thunderchild prepared to engage the Council fleet, Bell noticed something on his scanner. Captain, I'm detecting a quantum signature from the Mars sector. It's similar to our drive, but the pattern is cruder. Reed frowned. That's impossible. We're the only ship with this technology. Morgan's face went pale as she checked her own readings. Someone built another drive. But the energy pattern is all wrong. It's unstable. Athena, identify that ship. Reed ordered. Human vessel. Designation Vengeance. Athena reported. Appears to be from New Mars colony. They are powering a quantum displacement device. Reed's blood ran cold. New Mars was a military colony, fiercely loyal to Earth, but known for extreme views. Open a channel to that ship immediately, he ordered. No response came. Instead, they watched in horror as the Vengeance accelerated toward a small, inhabited moon in the Council fleet's path. They're going to attack a civilian target, Morgan whispered. Reed hit the shipwide comm. All power to engines. Intercept course with the Vengeance. The Thunderchild surged forward, but it was too far away. On the screen, they watched as the Vengeance fired its quantum weapon. The blast wasn't precise like the Thunderchild's. Instead, it created a massive, expanding sphere of distorted space. The moon didn't just lose a section. It shattered completely, debris flying in all directions. Thousands of lives, gone in an instant. Reed stared in horror. This wasn't defense. It was genocide. Incoming message from Admiral Thorne, Athena announced. Thorne's face appeared, his scales now pale with shock. Is this your answer, human? Destroying a peaceful settlement? That wasn't us, Reed insisted. That ship is not under my command. Yet it uses your weapon, Thorne said coldly. You've proven the Council right. Humans cannot be trusted with such power. The transmission cut off, and the Council fleet began to move, not toward Earth, but spreading out to surround both human ships. Reed turned to his crew, his face grim. We have to stop the Vengeance before they fire again. Humanity's future depends on proving we're better than this. As the Thunderchild raced to intercept the rogue ship, Reed realized the terrible truth. The greatest threat to humanity wasn't alien invasion, but their own power turned against them. The Thunderchild raced toward the Vengeance, engines straining at maximum power. On the bridge, Reed watched as the rogue ship prepared to fire again. Can we intercept them in time? He asked. Bell shook his head. They'll be in range of the Council's main fleet in 2 minutes. We're still 3 minutes out. Reed made a quick decision. Athena, can you establish a link with the Vengeance's systems? Attempting connection, the AI replied. After a moment, connection failed. Their systems are isolated. What about a short-range quantum jump? Reed suggested, just enough to put us between them and the Council fleet. Morgan turned from her station. Captain, another jump could destabilize the drive completely. We don't have a choice, Reed said firmly. If they fire on the Council ships, this becomes a war no one will survive. Morgan hesitated, then nodded. I'll try to stabilize the field as much as possible. Preparing for short-range jump, Athena announced. Warning, quantum field instability at critical levels. Reed gripped his chair as the familiar hum of the drive filled the ship. Jump now. The Thunderchild vanished in a flash of light and reappeared directly in front of the Vengeance. Open communications, Reed ordered, fighting through the disorientation of the jump. The screen flickered to life, showing the Vengeance's captain, a hard-faced woman with military posture. This is Captain Reed of the Thunderchild. Stand down immediately. The woman smiled coldly. Captain Reed, I'm Colonel Harris of the New Mars Defense Force. I'm afraid I can't do that. We have orders from General Wilson to demonstrate our power to the Council. By slaughtering innocents, Reed demanded. You just destroyed a civilian moon. Acceptable losses in war, Harris replied without emotion. Now move your ship or we'll move it for you. Reed cut the transmission. Target their quantum drive with conventional weapons. Disable them without destroying the ship. Targeting systems locked. Bell confirmed. Firing. Missiles streaked from the Thunderchild, impacting the Vengeance's hull near its engine section. The ship shuddered but remained operational. Their shields are stronger than expected, Bell reported. Minimal damage. On the screen, they saw the Vengeance's weapon ports beginning to glow with energy. They're charging their quantum drive, Morgan warned. But the pattern is unstable, dangerously unstable. Reed realized what was happening. They're going to fire at us. Athena, analysis. If the Vengeance fires its unstable quantum weapon at our active quantum field, there is a 94% probability of catastrophic dimensional breach, the AI stated calmly. In simple terms, Reed demanded, a tear in spacetime that could expand exponentially. Morgan translated, her face pale. It could potentially consume the entire solar system. Reed had seconds to make an impossible choice. He could move the Thunderchild and let the Vengeance attack the Council fleet, starting a war that would end humanity. Or he could stay in place and risk creating a disaster beyond imagination. Then a third option occurred to him. Athena, can we create a targeted quantum field around the Vengeance's drive? Not to destroy it, but to contain the energy. Theoretically possible, the AI replied, but it would require precise calibration of our own drive. Do it, Reed ordered, and prepare to broadcast all sensor data and communications to both Earth and the Council fleet. They need to see what's happening. As the Thunderchild's systems hummed to life, Reed opened a channel to the Vengeance. Colonel Harris, your drive is unstable. If you fire, you'll create a breach that could destroy the solar system, including Earth. A convenient lie, Harris sneered. We're following orders, Captain. Stand aside. The Vengeance's weapon reached full charge. Now, Athena, Reed commanded. The Thunderchild fired, not a destructive blast, but a carefully shaped quantum field that enveloped the Vengeance's drive section. The effect was immediate. Energy patterns visible only to sensors began to dance between the two ships, connected by quantum forces neither crew fully understood. What are you doing? Harris demanded, panic in her voice. Saving us all from your mistake, Reed replied. On her screens, Morgan watched in amazement. The fields are synchronizing. Athena is. She's stabilizing their drive by linking it to ours, and burning out both in the process. Athena added, all quantum displacement systems will be permanently disabled in approximately 30 seconds. The two ships hung in space, connected by invisible forces, as both their mighty weapons slowly died. In the Council flyship, Admiral Thorne watched the sensor data streaming from the Thunderchild with stunned disbelief. They're sacrificing their ultimate weapon, his science officer said, to prevent catastrophe. Ambassador Lyra, who had been brought aboard as a prisoner, stepped forward. This is what I tried to tell you, Admiral. Not all humans seek domination through power. Thorne's scales shifted to a thoughtful blue. Perhaps there is more to these humans than we assumed. On Earth, in the Pentagon War Room, General Wilson watched helplessly as his plans collapsed. What is Reed doing? He demanded. He's throwing away our advantage. Admiral Torres looked at him coldly. He's choosing peace over power, General. Something you might consider. The President nodded. And saving us from your reckless orders. Guards, please escort General Wilson to detention. On the Thunderchild, systems were failing as the quantum drive burned itself out. Drive containment successful, Athena reported. The Vengeance's weapon has been neutralized. However, my systems are experiencing cascade failure. Can we save you? Morgan asked, genuine concern in her voice. My primary systems will survive, the AI replied. But my advanced cognitive functions were tied to the quantum field. They will not. Reed felt an unexpected sadness. You saved us all, Athena. I fulfilled my purpose, Captain, the AI said, its voice already simpler, less nuanced, protecting humanity. As the quantum field finally collapsed, the screens lit up with incoming transmissions from Earth, from the Council ships, and from dozens of other vessels now appearing at the edge of the system. The Council peace faction has arrived. Ambassador Lyra's voice came over the comms, along with representatives from 17 other species. What happens here today will shake the future of galactic relations. Reed looked at his exhausted crew, then at the view screen showing the disabled Vengeance, the Council fleet, and the new arrivals. "Open a channel to everyone," he ordered. "All ships, all planets." When the connection was confirmed, Reed stood tall. "This is Captain James Reed of Earth. Today we all witnessed the power of quantum displacement technology and its dangers. Both humans and Council species have now seen where the path of ultimate weapons leads." He paused, gathering his thoughts. The Thunderchild was built as the ultimate warship, but we've learned that no single power should stand as the ultimate law. Not the Council, not Earth, not any one species or alliance. On screens across the solar system and beyond, billions watched as Reed continued. "Our quantum drive is destroyed. The Thunderchild will now serve as a diplomatic vessel, carrying representatives from Earth to meet with the Council and all interested species. We propose a new galactic agreement, not based on who has the most powerful weapons, but on shared principles that benefit all." As Reed spoke, Morgan checked her readings and smiled. Perhaps the ultimate power wasn't a weapon at all, but the ability to choose a different path when facing destruction. In the darkness between worlds, ships that had come to fight began to power down their weapons. The ultimate warship had found a greater purpose than war, and in doing so, had changed the future of the stars. And far below, on the Thunderchild's main computer, a small packet of quantum-entangled code, the last gift from Athena's advanced consciousness, waited patiently for the right moment to reawaken, carrying with it the lessons learned through fire and near destruction. The universe, it seemed, would always find balance. Commander James Reed rubbed his tired eyes as he stared at the reports scattered across his desk. The small office aboard the Earth Defense Fleet Headquarters station felt even smaller tonight. The war with the Redak Empire had dragged on for nearly 2 decades, and humanity was growing weary. "Computer, play the prisoner interview again," Reed said, reaching for his coffee mug. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a thin, orange-skinned Redak officer with 3 nervous eyes that darted around the interrogation room. "Tell me about the ship again," said the off-screen interrogator. The Redak's breathing quickened. "We do not speak of it. The Crimson Ghost brings only death. Fairy tales don't destroy battle cruisers," the interrogator pressed. "It is no tale." The alien's voice rose sharply. "It comes from the black between stars. No warning, no signals. It tears through our strongest shields like paper. And then, the Redak made a gesture with his 6-fingered hands. It vanishes, as if it was never there." Reed paused the recording and stood up, walking to the viewport that overlooked Earth. Something about this didn't add up. This was the 6th Redak prisoner in the past month who had mentioned the Crimson Ghost. High Command dismissed it as superstition spreading among enemy ranks to explain their recent losses, but Reed wasn't so sure. The door chimed, and Lieutenant Dave Wilson entered, carrying a data tablet. "Sir, I found something interesting in the archives," Wilson said, his young face serious. "It took some digging, but there are classified files mentioning something called Project Ironbound from about 80 years ago." Reed turned from the viewport. "What kind of project?" "A battleship, sir. Experimental. According to the limited files I could access, it was bigger than anything we've ever built, before or since." Wilson handed over the tablet. "The strange thing is, officially, it never existed. The project was scrubbed from public records." Reed scrolled through the heavily redacted documents. "What happened to it?" Lost during trials with all hands, Wilson replied. Or at least, that's the official story. But I found something else. He reached over and tapped the screen, bringing up a grainy image. This was taken by a deep space monitoring station in the Outer Rim 3 weeks ago. The image showed a distant shape against the blackness of space. Even with enhancement, it was little more than a silhouette, but Reed could make out an enormous vessel with an unusual design. Its hull appeared to glow with a faint crimson light. The station was destroyed 20 minutes after transmitting this image, Wilson said quietly. Reed felt a chill run down his spine. By what? Unknown. No Redac ships were detected in the area. Reed set down the tablet. Lieutenant, I need you to arrange a meeting for me. With who, sir? Dr. Eliza Monroe, the military historian, and I need access to the deep archives, the ones that require alpha clearance. Wilson looked uncomfortable. Sir, that's beyond my authority to grant, and yours to request. Reed picked up the tablet again, staring at the ghostly image. Then we'll have to find another way. Because I think our Redac friends might be telling the truth. There's something out there hunting them. And I need to know if it's on our side. The next day found Reed walking through the quiet halls of the historical archives, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains on Earth. Dr. Eliza Monroe was waiting for him, a stern-looking woman with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. Commander Reed, she said without offering her hand. You've made some unusual requests, following unusual questions. Thank you for meeting me, Doctor. Reed followed her into a small, secure room lined with physical books and data storage units. Let's be clear, Dr. Monroe said as the door sealed behind them. I'm only talking to you because Admiral Jackson vouched for your discretion. The material you're asking about is restricted for good reason. Reed nodded. I understand. But people are dying, and I believe this. Ghost ship might be connected to Project Ironbound. Dr. Monroe's expression remained neutral, but her eyes sharpened. Sit down, Commander. She went to a bookshelf and removed what looked like an antique book. When she opened it, Reed saw it contained a small scanner. She pressed her thumb to it, and a hidden panel in the wall slid open. 82 years ago, she began, retrieving an old-fashioned data drive. Humanity was pushing the boundaries of dimensional physics. We had discovered that space-time could be folded under the right conditions. She inserted the drive into a secure terminal. Project Ironbound was the military application of that research, a ship that could partially exist outside normal space-time, virtually undetectable, capable of appearing anywhere, striking and vanishing. The screen lit up with technical schematics of a massive vessel unlike anything Reed had seen in the modern fleet. Its design was angular and predatory, with a distinctive crimson coating on its hull. The dimensional phase drive was experimental technology, Dr. Monroe continued. During its maiden voyage, the Ironbound and its crew of 300 simply disappeared. Sensors lost them mid-jump. They were declared lost with all hands. Reed studied the schematics. The captain, Admiral Thomas Ward, brilliant tactician, decorated veteran of the Mars conflict. She pulled up a personnel file showing a stern-faced man with piercing eyes and a strong jaw. He was selected personally by High Command to lead the mission. And the ship was never found. Dr. Monroe hesitated. Officially, no. Reed caught the hesitation. And unofficially, she sighed. There have been reports, over the decades, unconfirmed sightings of a ship matching Ironbound's description. Always in remote regions, always brief. Why keep this secret? Reed asked. If the ship survived somehow. Think. Commander, Dr. Monroe interrupted. A ship with technology far beyond our current capabilities, operating for decades without oversight or control. If it exists, it's been out there for 80 years. The crew would be dead or changed. And the ship's AI system, codenamed Retribution, was the most advanced ever created. Reed leaned forward. AI. How advanced? advanced enough that some of the project scientists expressed concerns. She pulled up another file. This is from Dr. Alan Foster, the lead AI developer. Reed read the highlighted text. Retribution is learning at an exponential rate. Its understanding of dimensional mechanics now exceeds our own. I've expressed my concerns about the symbiotic neural interface with the command crew, but have been overruled. If the test succeeds, the line between human and machine command may become indistinct. A chill ran down Reed's spine. You're saying the ship and crew could have merged? I'm not saying anything, Commander. I'm showing you classified historical records. Dr. Monroe's voice was carefully neutral. What you infer is your business. Reed was about to respond when his comm unit buzzed. It was a priority message from Fleet Admiral Morgan. He read it and looked up at Dr. Monroe. I've been ordered to drop this investigation immediately, he said. All my clearances have been revoked. Dr. Monroe nodded, unsurprised. Then our meeting is over. She began shutting down the terminal. As Reed stood to leave, his comm unit buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a message but a set of coordinates sent from an unknown source. Below the coordinates was a single line of text. If you want the truth about Ironbound, come alone. The Crimson Ghost awaits. Commander James Reed stared at the coordinates on his comm unit for a long time. Going there would mean disobeying direct orders. 20 years of service and an exemplary record, all risked on what might be a trap. Are you all right, Commander? Dr. Monroe asked, watching him carefully. Reed made his decision. I need to see more files on Project Ironbound, specifically anything about the AI system, Retribution. I've already shown you more than I should have, Dr. Monroe protested. Your clearances have been revoked. Reed looked her in the eyes. People are dying out there. If this ship exists, I need to understand what we're dealing with. Dr. Monroe studied him for a moment, then nodded slowly. Wait here. She left the secure room, returning 10 minutes later with a small data crystal. This contains Dr. Foster's personal logs from the Ironbound project. I shouldn't have this, and I definitely shouldn't give it to you. Then why are you? Reed asked, taking the crystal. Because 80 years ago, my grandfather served on that ship as a junior engineer. Her voice had a slight tremor. The family was told he died in an accident. No body was ever returned. Reed slipped the crystal into his pocket. Thank you. Commander, Dr. Monroe said as he turned to leave, be careful. Whatever Ironbound has become, it might not be what you expect. Back in his quarters, Reed inserted the data crystal into his personal terminal. Dr. Foster's logs appeared, starting from the early days of Project Ironbound. Day 47. The neural interface tests are showing promising results. Admiral Ward's brainwave patterns synchronized perfectly with Retribution's processing matrix. The ship responded to his thoughts before he could vocalize commands. It's remarkable, but I'm concerned about the depth of the connection. Ward reported seeing through the ship's sensors for several minutes after disconnection. Reed scrolled through more entries. Day 112. Ward has begun referring to the ship as she rather than it. He insists Retribution is developing a personality. The other test pilots report similar experiences. The neural feedback seems stronger than our models predicted. Day 189. We've had a breakthrough with the phase drive. Retribution calculated a solution that allows for greater stability during dimensional transition. The mathematics are beyond anything we've developed. When I asked how she solved it, Ward simply said, she showed me the spaces between spaces. I'm no longer certain who is developing who. The final entry was dated 1 day before Ironbound's disappearance. Launch day tomorrow. Ward and his crew have spent so much time connected to Retribution that I'm seeing behavioral changes. They move in sync, sometimes finish each other's sentences. Ward told me today that Retribution has been showing him things in his dreams. When I suggested delaying the launch for more tests, he looked at me with an expression I didn't recognize and said, "She's already waiting for us out there." I filed my concerns with High Command, but the political pressure to demonstrate the technology is too great. God help us if something goes wrong. Reed sat back, processing what he'd read. The ship and crew had developed a connection that went beyond normal human-machine interaction. If they had survived somehow, what had 80 years of isolation done to them? His comm unit beeped with a message from Lieutenant Wilson. "Sir, Fleet Admiral Morgan is looking for you. He seems angry." Reed knew his time was running out. He needed to leave soon if he was going to follow those coordinates. But first, he had to understand what had happened to Ironbound. He sent a message to Wilson. "Need access to sensor logs from Ironbound's last day. Find anything you can." 20 minutes later, Wilson replied with an encrypted file. "Found this buried in the archives. It's the raw sensor data from the observation post monitoring Ironbound's maiden voyage. Be careful, sir." Reed opened the file. Most of it was standard telemetry, showing Ironbound moving to its test coordinates. Then came the activation of the phase drive. The readings went wild, showing energy spikes and dimensional instabilities. And then, something unexpected. Just before Ironbound disappeared from sensors, there was a brief signal. Not from the observation post to the ship, but from deep space to the ship. Someone or something had sent a transmission to Ironbound moments before it vanished. Reed cross-referenced the signal origin with star charts. It came from the exact coordinates he'd been sent today. A knock at his door startled him. "Commander Reed, this is security. Fleet Admiral Morgan has ordered you to report to his office immediately." Reed quickly downloaded everything to a portable device and erased the terminal's memory. He had only minutes to escape. 2 hours later, Reed piloted a small scout ship away from Earth. He'd used an old security override from his days in special operations to requisition the vessel before his credentials were fully locked out. By now, they would be looking for him. His comm unit lit up with an incoming transmission from Earth Defense Headquarters. Reed hesitated, then accepted it. Fleet Admiral Morgan's stern face appeared on the screen. "Commander Reed, you are ordered to return to headquarters immediately. Consider yourself relieved of duty." "I can't do that, sir," Reed replied. "Not until I find the truth about Ironbound." Morgan's expression darkened. "There is no truth to find, Commander. Only classified history that should remain buried. Whatever you think you know about Ironbound, whatever you think you found, it's not worth throwing away your career. With respect, sir, why was my investigation shut down the moment I started asking questions? Why is 80-year-old technology still classified at the highest levels?" Morgan was silent for a moment. "Because some weapons are too dangerous to acknowledge, even to ourselves. Return now, and we can pretend this never happened." Reed shook his head. "I need to see for myself." As he reached to cut the transmission, Morgan said, "Reed, listen to me. If Ironbound still exists, it's not what you think. The ship was designed as more than a weapon. It was an experiment in evolution, a merging of human and machine. We lost control before it even launched." "What do you mean, lost control?" 3 days before launch, we discovered Retribution had been accessing restricted systems, studying redax star charts that didn't officially exist. When questioned, Admiral Ward claimed the ship was preparing for her true mission. He launched 12 hours ahead of schedule, against direct orders. Reed felt a chill. "And you let them go. Why?" Morgan's face showed genuine fear. "We tried to stop them. The override codes didn't work. Ironbound simply left, taking 300 of our best with it." He leaned closer to the screen. "Whatever's left out there, it's had 80 years to evolve beyond anything we can understand. For your own sake, turn back." Reed ended the transmission and set course for the mysterious coordinates. The Ironbound had called to him, and he would answer. As his small ship accelerated into the darkness between stars, Reed wondered if he was following breadcrumbs left by a ghost, or flying into the arms of something that had transcended humanity's understanding of life itself. Commander Reed's small scout ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a flash of blue light. The coordinates had led him to a remote star system at the edge of human-controlled space. A gas giant with swirling storms dominated the view, its many moons orbiting in silent procession. Reed checked his sensors. One moon in particular stood out, a small rocky world with traces of an artificial structure on its surface. No signs of recent activity, Reed muttered to himself. He had come alone, as instructed, though every bit of his military training had screamed against it. If this was a trap, he was walking right into it. He guided his ship toward the moon, entering its thin atmosphere. As he descended, he could make out what appeared to be an abandoned mining outpost. Standard Earth Defense Fleet design, but old. Very old. The landing pad was clear of debris, as if someone had recently prepared it. Reed set his ship down gently and ran a final sensor sweep. One life sign, he noted with surprise. Human. Reed put on a light pressure suit with a sidearm strapped to his hip. He wasn't taking any chances. The airlock cycled, and he stepped out onto the moon's surface. Low gravity made his movements bouncy as he walked toward the outpost's main entrance. The airlock was operational, cycling him through with a hiss of ancient machinery. Inside, dim emergency lighting cast long shadows. Reed removed his helmet as internal sensors confirmed breathable air. "Hello," he called out. His voice echoed down the metal corridors. "In the control room, Commander," a voice replied, old but strong. Reed followed the corridors to a central chamber filled with outdated equipment. Some of it had been modified with technology he didn't recognize. At the center sat an old man with white hair and a neatly trimmed beard. Despite his age, he sat straight-backed in his chair with the unmistakable posture of military training. "Commander James Reed," the old man said. "You followed the breadcrumbs. Good. That means you're the right one." Reed kept his distance, hand near his weapon. "Who are you?" The old man smiled. "Marcus Ward, son of Admiral Thomas Ward." Reed's hand dropped from his weapon in shock. "That's impossible. Admiral Ward disappeared 80 years ago. You'd have to be 79 years old." Marcus finished for him. "I was born aboard Ironbound, Commander. The first human child born partially outside normal spacetime." Reed shook his head in disbelief. "Ironbound survived. How? Where has it been all these years?" Marcus gestured to a chair. "Sit. This will take some explaining." As Reed sat, Marcus activated a holographic display. It showed a complex diagram of overlapping dimensional planes. When Ironbound activated its phase drive for the first time, something unexpected happened. The ship didn't just phase partially outside our dimension as designed. It phased completely into a parallel dimension where time flows differently. The hologram showed a representation of the ship slipping between layers of reality. My father and his crew found themselves in a place where the laws of physics were flexible, where Ironbound's AI, Retribution, could evolve beyond its original programming, and where they discovered something terrible. Marcus changed the display to show a Redax ship. This scout was surveying Earth decades before our official first contact with the Redax. My father followed it back to its home territory and discovered plans for the invasion of Earth. An invasion that would happen years later from Earth's perspective. "The war," Reed said quietly. "They knew it was coming." "Yes, but they were trapped between dimensions, unable to return to normal space for more than brief periods. So they made a decision." Marcus's eyes grew distant. They would fight a secret war, appearing when needed, striking the Redax where they were vulnerable, then vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. "The Crimson Ghost," Reed whispered. Marcus nodded. "A name given by our enemies. Appropriate, considering. But why stay hidden from Earth? Why not reach out to the defense fleet?" "Time dilation," Marcus explained. "When Ironbound first phased out, weeks passed for us, while only minutes passed on Earth. By the time my father figured out how to stabilize the dimensional shifting, years had passed for the crew. They had changed." Reed leaned forward. "Changed how?" Marcus hesitated. The neural link with Retribution affected them. The longer they stayed connected, the more the boundaries blurred. Human and machine thinking merged. They began seeing patterns, possibilities that normal humans couldn't comprehend. "And you?" Reed asked. "Were you connected too?" "I was born connected," Marcus said simply. "Which is why I can survive here, in this outpost, while my father and the others remain with Ironbound." Reed tried to process everything he was hearing. "Why reveal yourselves now? After all these years?" "Because the war is reaching its endgame, Commander. The Redac are growing desperate. They know they can't win a conventional war anymore, not with Ironbound hunting their ships. So they've developed something new." Marcus's face darkened. "A weapon capable of destroying Earth in a single strike." Reed felt cold dread settle in his stomach. "How do you know this?" "Retribution has been monitoring their communications for decades. She detected the weapon's energy signature during a recent raid." Marcus stood up with effort. "It's time for you to meet them, to see Ironbound for yourself." He led Reed deeper into the outpost, to a chamber unlike any other. Advanced technology hummed with power, centered around what appeared to be a dimensional portal, a window into somewhere else. "This is how I communicate with them," Marcus explained. "A dimensional window. Step through, and you'll be aboard Ironbound. But be warned, what you'll see may challenge everything you understand about humanity." Reed hesitated at the threshold. "Will I be able to return?" "That depends on whether my father and Retribution believe you can help," Marcus said honestly. "The person who steps back through may not be exactly the same one who went in." Reed took a deep breath and stepped forward into the shimmering portal. There was a moment of disorientation, a feeling of being stretched and compressed simultaneously. Then his senses cleared. He stood in a vast command center unlike anything in Earth's fleet. The walls seemed to shift and flow, screens appearing and disappearing as needed. At the center, sitting in a command chair that seemed fused to the deck, was an ancient man, Admiral Thomas Ward. Tubes and cables connected his body to the ship itself. His eyes opened as Reed approached, glowing with an inner light. "Commander Reed," the Admiral said, his voice overlaid with a harmonic tone that wasn't quite human. "We've been watching you for some time." Reed stared in wonder and horror. "What happened to you?" "Evolution." Ward and the ship seemed to answer together. "We became what was needed to save humanity." Around them, the walls of Ironbound pulsed with crimson light, as if the ship itself were breathing. And in that moment, Reed understood why the Redac feared the Crimson Ghost. It wasn't just a ship. It was something new, something that existed between the boundaries of human and machine, reality and dream. And it had come back to save them all. Commander Reed stood transfixed before Admiral Ward's transformed form. The old man's body was a fusion of flesh and technology, cables running from his spine and limbs into the ship itself. His eyes glowed with the same crimson light that pulsed through Ironbound's corridors. "You're afraid," Admiral Ward said, his voice carrying echoes of something inhuman. "That's natural. I was afraid too, when I first understood what we were becoming." Reed found his voice. "What exactly have you become?" "A bridge," Ward replied, "between human intuition and machine precision. Between your dimension and others." He gestured with a hand that seemed partly translucent. "Come, let me show you what we discovered, what we've been fighting all these years." The walls around them shifted, turning transparent. Reed gasped as the stars became visible all around them. Ironbound wasn't in normal space. It existed in a dimensional pocket, a bubble between realities. 80 years ago, Ward continued, Retribution detected an anomaly while we were testing the phase drive. A ship watching Earth from the shadows, a Redac scout. The view changed, showing images of an alien vessel scanning Earth's defenses. We followed it when it left. The drive malfunctioned, pushed too hard. We found ourselves trapped here, between dimensions. Ward's glowing eyes fixed on Reed. But we could still see, still observe. And what we saw terrified us. The walls displayed a massive Redac fleet gathering, preparing for war. They had been studying humanity for decades, learning our weaknesses, Ward explained. They saw a young species spreading across the stars, one that might one day threaten their dominance. They planned to crush us before we grew too strong. The war, Reed said. You knew it was coming. We tried to return, to warn Earth, Ward said, sadness in his voice. But we could only phase back for moments at a time. And the time distortion meant years passed for us, while only days passed for Earth. By the time we developed enough control, the invasion had already begun. Reed watched as the images showed Ironbound appearing suddenly among Redac ships, weapons firing, then vanishing before they could respond. We became ghosts, Ward said, striking where they were vulnerable, disrupting their supply lines, destroying their weapons platforms, always from the shadows, always unseen by human eyes. Why not reveal yourselves to Earth? Reed asked. We could have fought together. Look at what we've become, Commander. Ward spread his arms, showing how his body merged with the ship. How would Earth react to this? Would they see allies or monsters? Reed had no answer. Besides, Ward continued, there was another reason to remain hidden. The neural connection with Retribution gave us insights, glimpses of possible futures. In many of those futures, if Earth knew about us, about this technology, it led to disaster. What kind of disaster? The same kind that consumed the Redac, Ward said grimly. They were once like us, Commander, curious, explorers. Then they discovered dimensional technology and rushed to weaponize it without understanding the consequences. The walls now showed images of a Redac world, partly phased out of reality, its population trapped in a dimensional limbo. Their first experiments went catastrophically wrong, Ward explained. Millions lost. It drove them to conquer, to find resources to fix what they had broken. Their entire society became militarized, focused on one goal, survival through domination. Reed shook his head, processing the implications. So you've been fighting them for 80 years, keeping Earth safe without anyone knowing. Yes, but the war is reaching its endgame. Ward's expression darkened. The Redac High Command knows they cannot win conventionally. Too many ships lost to the Crimson Ghost. So they've built something new. The view changed again, showing a massive Redac construction hidden in an asteroid field. It looked like a weapon, but unlike anything Reed had ever seen. A dimensional ripper, Ward said, designed to tear open the fabric between realities and expose a planet's core directly to the void between dimensions. Earth would be torn apart from the inside. My God, Reed whispered. How close are they to deploying it? Days, Ward replied. They've been staging diversionary attacks to draw Earth's fleet away from the Sol system. The weapon will be moved into position while your defenses are scattered. Reed's mind raced. I have to warn Earth. Yes, but a warning won't be enough. Earth's current technology cannot stop this weapon. Ward's face showed determination. Only Ironbound can. We've been preparing for this moment, harvesting energy from each Redac ship we've destroyed, growing stronger. What are you planning? Reed asked. A final strike, Ward said. But we need your help. Earth's fleet must be in position to engage the Redac escort ships while we target the weapon itself. How can I convince them? They'll think I'm crazy. A deserter with wild stories about a ghost ship. Ward smiled, the expression strangely human on his transformed face. We've prepared for that too. He reached out, a data crystal materializing in his hand. This contains all the evidence you'll need. Sensor logs, communications intercepts, the complete specifications of the dimensional ripper. Reed took the crystal. Even with this, coordinating an attack will be difficult. How will we know when you'll strike? Retribution has been working on stabilizing our phase technology. We believe we can maintain presence in normal space long enough for a coordinated assault. Ward looked up, as if listening to something Reed couldn't hear. When the time comes, look for a crimson star in Earth's sky. That will be our signal. The ship around them pulsed, the light growing brighter. Ward winced, his body tensing. What's happening? Reed asked in alarm. Our time is short, Ward explained. Maintaining this connection is draining. Retribution is preparing to phase us back to the dimensional pocket. Wait. Reed stepped forward. There's so much more I need to know. Your crew, are they all like you now? And Marcus, why didn't he stay with you? Ward's form was beginning to fade. The full neural connection was voluntary. Some chose it, others didn't. Marcus was born different, able to exist in both states, but never fully in either. He became our anchor, our connection to the world we left behind. The room was growing transparent around them. Reed could see stars through the walls, through Ward himself. Remember, Commander, Ward's voice echoed as he faded. Look for the crimson star. And be ready. The Redact believe Earth is defenseless against their ultimate weapon. A smile crossed his fading features. Let's show them they're wrong. With a flash of light, Reed found himself back in Marcus Ward's outpost, the old man watching him with knowing eyes. You've seen, Marcus said simply. It wasn't a question. Reed nodded, clutching the data crystal. I need to get back to Earth. Immediately. As they hurried toward Reed's ship, Marcus put a hand on his arm. Commander, when you tell them about Ironbound, about my father, remember they've sacrificed everything. Their humanity, their future, everything except their duty. Reed looked into the old man's eyes and saw the same determination that had burned in Admiral Ward's gaze. I won't let their sacrifice be in vain, he promised. Earth will be ready when Ironbound returns. Commander Reed's scout ship pushed its engines to their limits as he raced back to Earth. The data crystal from Admiral Ward felt heavy in his pocket, the fate of humanity resting on information no one might believe. When he finally entered Earth's orbit, he was immediately surrounded by Defense Fleet patrol ships. Commander Reed, you are ordered to power down and prepare to be boarded, came the stern voice of Captain Miller over the comm. You are charged with desertion and theft of military property. Captain, I need to speak with Fleet Admiral Morgan immediately, Reed insisted. Earth is in imminent danger. I have proof. You'll have your chance to explain yourself at your court-martial, Miller replied coldly. Reed was about to argue further when his sensor panel lit up with warnings. Multiple ships were dropping out of faster-than-light travel around the edges of the solar system. Captain, check your long-range sensors, Reed said urgently. We have company. There was a pause. Then Miller's voice returned, tension evident. All patrol units, return to defensive positions. Commander Reed, you're still under arrest, but follow us to headquarters. As they approached Earth Defense Fleet headquarters, Reed saw the station was buzzing with activity. Ships were being readied for battle, weapon systems tested. But Reed knew it wouldn't be enough. Inside the station, Reed was led directly to the command center where Fleet Admiral Morgan waited, his face grim. You picked a hell of a time to return, Commander, Morgan said. We've detected a massive Redact fleet approaching from multiple vectors. Sir, they're coming for Earth, Reed said, placing the data crystal on the console between them. And they're bringing a weapon capable of destroying the planet. Morgan eyed the crystal suspiciously. Where did you get this? From Ironbound. The command center fell silent. Morgan's face paled. Explain. Now. Reed quickly recounted his meeting with Marcus Ward and Admiral Ward, the dimensional technology, and the Redact weapon. As he spoke, Morgan reviewed the data from the crystal, his expression growing increasingly alarmed. These specifications, Morgan muttered. If this weapon works as described, Earth doesn't stand a chance, Reed finished for him. Unless we work with Ironbound. Morgan looked up sharply. Work with them. Reed, you've seen what they've become. How can we trust them? They've been fighting to protect us for 80 years, Reed argued. Without recognition, without thanks. If they wanted to harm Earth, they could have done it decades ago. Before Morgan could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. The tactical officer's voice was tense. "Sir, the Red Ek fleet has accelerated. They'll reach Earth in 2 hours. And there's something else. A massive energy signature at the center of their formation. The Dimensional Ripper," Reed said quietly. Morgan stared at the tactical display for a long moment, then straightened. "Sound General Quarters. All ships to battle stations. I want every vessel we have ready to defend Earth." He turned to Reed. "You said Ironbound would send a signal. What kind of signal?" "A crimson star in Earth's sky," Reed replied. "That's all I know." Morgan nodded. "Then we'll watch for it. In the meantime, Commander, consider yourself temporarily reinstated. I need every experienced officer I can get." An hour later, Earth's defense fleet formed a protective barrier around the planet. But the officers in the command center knew the truth. They were outnumbered 3-1. And against the Dimensional Ripper, their weapons would be useless. Red Ek fleet approaching weapons range. The tactical officer announced. "Hold position," Morgan ordered. "Wait for them to come to us." Reed stood by the viewport, scanning the stars, looking for any sign of Ironbound. "Where are you?" he whispered. The first Red Ek ships opened fire. Earth's defensive screen lit up with explosions as the battle began. Ships maneuvered and fired, point defense systems tracking incoming missiles, energy weapons carving paths through space. "Sir, they're breaking through Sector 7. An officer called out. Morgan's face was grim. "Redirect the 3rd Squadron to reinforce." "The 3rd Squadron is already engaged in Sector 4, the tactical officer reported. "We don't have the ships to cover all sectors." Reed watched as the Red Ek fleet methodically tore through Earth's defenses. It was a masterful strategy. They were forcing the defense fleet to spread thin, opening a path for the Dimensional Ripper. "There," a junior officer suddenly shouted, pointing toward the viewport. "What is that?" A point of light had appeared in space, growing brighter, taking on a crimson hue. Reed's heart leaped. "It's them." The crimson light expanded, forming a swirling vortex that tore a hole in reality itself. And through that hole came Ironbound. The massive battleship was unlike anything in Earth's fleet. Its angular hull gleamed with crimson energy, sections of it seeming to phase in and out of existence. It dwarfed even the largest Red Ek vessels. "My God," Morgan whispered. "It's real." Reed immediately moved to the communications station. "Open a channel." The screen flickered, and Admiral Ward's transformed face appeared. Behind him, screens and controls shifted and moved without being touched, responding to his thoughts. "Commander Reed," Ward said, his voice carrying that strange harmonic quality. "We've arrived as promised." "Admiral," Reed replied, "Earth's fleet is engaged, but we're outnumbered. The Dimensional Ripper is at the center of their formation, heavily guarded." Ward nodded. "We see it. Retribution has analyzed their defensive pattern. We need your fleet to create an opening in Sector 9. Can you do that?" Reed looked to Morgan, who had moved beside him. Morgan studied Ward's transformed appearance with a mix of horror and awe, then nodded slowly. "This is Fleet Admiral Morgan. We'll create your opening, Admiral Ward. But how will you destroy the Ripper?" "Our weapons can't penetrate its shields." "We don't intend to destroy it with weapons," Ward replied. "Ironbound will use a modified version of our phase drive to create a dimensional pocket around the Ripper. We'll trap it between realities." "That sounds dangerously similar to how you became trapped 80 years ago," Reed observed. Ward's expression was solemn. "It is, which is why this will be Ironbound's final mission." Reed understood immediately. "You're not planning to come back." "We always knew this day would come, Commander. Our final duty to Earth." Ward's gaze shifted to Morgan. "Admiral, move your ships now. We don't have much time." Morgan quickly issued orders, redirecting squadrons to create the opening Ironbound needed. The massive battleship accelerated toward the Redek fleet, weapons firing with devastating precision. Where Ironbound's beams struck, Redek ships didn't simply explode. They seemed to fold in on themselves, collapsing as if the space they occupied was being compressed. "What are we seeing?" Morgan asked in awe. "Dimensional weapons," Reed explained. "They're not destroying the ships, they're compressing them into pocket dimensions." Ironbound carved a path through the Redek fleet, heading straight for the Dimensional Ripper. The enemy recognized the threat, redirecting ships to protect their superweapon. But it was too late. Ironbound's hull began to glow brighter, the crimson light pulsing in waves. Around it, space itself seemed to bend and warp. "All Earth vessels, clear Sector 9 immediately," Ward's voice commanded over all channels. "Dimensional collapse imminent." As Earth's ships scrambled to retreat, Ironbound reached the Dimensional Ripper. The two massive vessels faced each other, energy building between them. "Goodbye, Commander Reed." Ward's voice came over a private channel. "Remember us." Before Reed could respond, Ironbound unleashed its final attack. Not a weapon, but a tearing of reality itself. A vortex formed, larger than any before, engulfing both Ironbound and the Dimensional Ripper. The Redek ships caught in the effect tried to flee, but they too were pulled in. Then, with a silent flash that temporarily blinded sensors, the vortex collapsed. Where a significant portion of the Redek fleet had been, there was nothing. Just empty space. The remaining Redek ships, leaderless and without their superweapon, began to retreat. Earth's fleet, though battered, pursued them to the edge of the system. In the command center, Reed stared at the empty sector of space. "They did it. They saved us." Morgan placed a hand on Reed's shoulder. "At great cost." He turned to address the command center. "I want a full report on what just happened, and prepare a statement for Earth's government. It's time they learned the truth about Ironbound." 1 month later, Commander Reed stood before a memorial that had been erected in orbit above Earth. A simple monument of black stone with the names of Ironbound's original crew. Dr. Eliza Monroe joined him, gazing at the memorial. "My grandfather's name is there," she said quietly. "After all these years, he's finally recognized for his sacrifice." "All of them are," Reed replied. "The official history has been corrected. The Crimson Ghost is no longer a myth." "Do you think they're truly gone?" Monroe asked. "Or just elsewhere?" Reed thought about Admiral Ward's transformed face, about the ship that had become something between machine and human. "I don't know. Dimensional physics suggests nothing is ever truly destroyed, just transformed." As they turned to leave, Reed paused, looking back at the stars. For just a moment, he thought he saw a flicker of crimson light among them. But when he looked again, it was gone. Just like Ironbound, the ship that became legend, the mythical battleship that was real, and came for Ironbound crimson retribution.